All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. I'm your host, Rich Prado, owner of Play in School. Today we're headed down to Venice, Florida to catch up with a Canadian. That's so stereotypical, isn't it? John Milton of the Okotoks Dawgs. John, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Rich, and thanks for having me. And it's beautiful to be a snowbird and in 70-degree weather as opposed to mid to in the 20s.
You are officially living the dream. It's very cool. You've got a lot of really cool stuff going on. You're going to make people jealous as we talk about it, I think. Before we get into all the things that you've already told me, why don't we allow you to sort of give our audience the journey that you've been on in this baseball world. And you can take us back as far as you want, and then catch us up to modern day.
Yeah, it's been, I like the word that you say, journey, and that's really what baseball is all about. Whether you're a player, coach, administrator, it's always a journey, and there's going to be the ups and downs. So, I've been very blessed and fortunate to be able to work with a lot of great people, and it started, playing back in a place called Brampton, Ontario, and had some great coaches there. And, what they taught me allowed me to kind of get in the coaching ranks, and I've had the opportunity to be a guest coach with the Canadian junior national team. I've worked with an academy from the Czech Republic, which is outstanding, and something that I really encourage all coaches to try to do is if you can work with players from, whether it be Canada, whether it be another country, it's a great learning tool for you. And then after that, it kind of all transformed into me joining the Toronto Blue Jays, and I was a scout with the Toronto Blue Jays as well as working with the amateur baseball department, and we put on clinics across Canada, and then really it kind of all morphed into 25 plus years of coaching on the field, whether it be everything from my son's teams and T-ball all the way up to pro ball. Working in minor league camp with the Toronto Blue Jays at spring training, and after that, it's been working with organizations like the Ontario Terriers, and now I'm with the Okotoks Dawgs, an academy program, which it's a very unique program because we have an academy program which has 7 teams, one at 13, 2 at 15, 1 at 16, and 2 at 18U. But we also have a summer collegiate league team, which is kind of the jewel of our program, and we average over 4,000 a night in Okotoks for our game nights, and we're very fortunate to have a $24 million facility. We have a 5,000 seat Siemens Stadium, 40,000 square foot field house, a second stadium which seats about 2,000 people, and then a third little field for where we put our 13-year-olds, and that's Conrad Field. So we're very lucky to be where we are. I call it the baseball capital of Canada. Nowhere can you get 4,000 people out a night with a population the way it is. It's just a great baseball town, and they just love the game.
Well, before we hit record, as I often do, because I'm geographically challenged, I had to pull up Google Maps and locate Okotoks. Can you sort of describe where you guys are? Sure.
Yeah, we're from a Canadian perspective, we're about 35 minutes south of Calgary. Mm-hmm. In terms of from the U.S., we're just north of Montana in the Dakotas. So we're kind of what we call Western Canada. But
yeah. Not all the way to the coast.
We're not all the way to the coast, which is a beautiful place, but we're almost there.
I'm looking at the map for the other geographically challenged U.S. citizens. If you think about Western Montana and drive out into the wilderness due north, you'll eventually hit Calgary. When you hit Calgary, you've gone too far. Turn around, come back a few minutes, and you'll end up in this tiny little town that has 3 baseball stadiums, apparently.
Yep.
Incredible. I'm just flabbergasted. You mentioned it was a small town.
Correct.
Google tells me there is 28,881 residents there. So you're talking about less than 30,000 people. And so a substantial percentage of these citizens go watch baseball every home game during the summer. That is bonkers to me. 4,000 people per home game?
Yes, and we rank 3rd in North America for summer collegiate league teams. We will be hosting the Western Canadian Baseball League, which is the summer collegiate league that we play in. We're hosting the AllStar Game this year, so we're pretty excited about that. We're expecting over 5,000. It's pretty much almost a sellout right now. There still are a few tickets left, but we're pretty excited. It's going to be a great weekend. We've got some former professional players coming in to help out with our home run derby and promote the event and talk to the players. We'll have fireworks display. It's just going to be a great weekend because we want to celebrate, and I hate to say this, but we're going to celebrate Canadian baseball and all the great things that Canadian baseball has to offer.
Yeah, awesome. But you're not in Okotoks right now. You are sitting, I don't know, what would you say, about 3,000 miles south of there, southeast of there, in a little town called Venice, Florida, which isn't too far from Sarasota. And you're lucky enough to have the official description of being a snowbird. So what's your sort of rhythm right now as far as when you head to Florida versus when you head up to Canada?
Well, when there's no snow on the ground, we head back to Canada.
So wait for it to thaw out. There's no rush.
Yeah. So I mean, it's typical. I like to try to be down here. Sometime just before U.S. Thanksgiving, and kind of mid-November, and then head back just after Easter, kind of mid-April, because at that point, kind of baseball's starting to get going, in kind of full stream in Canada. And it allows me to get out and do some things.
Again, for those of you guys listening at home, we're talking to John Milton from Okotoks Dawgs. You can find him over on Twitter at jmilton3. Now, if you look at at your description over here, you also list yourself as an assistant coach with Erie Community College. Erie Community College being basically in Buffalo, New York. You're right there by Niagara Falls. You're, essentially on the U.S.-Canada border. Talk to us about your setup there, because I think you might make some coaches jealous with your situation you have going on.
Well, first of all, it's actually very close for me to get to in terms of the campus, but I'm very fortunate to be able to work with Coach Both at Erie Community College. Coach has been there 30-plus years, 1,000-plus wins. Very fortunate to get to work hand in hand with him, as well as the rest of the coaches, including Coach Hesketh, who used to play for the Red Sox and Expos as a left-handed pitcher and our pitching coach. So really, Coach Both has been very accommodating in terms of my schedule and my lifestyle, being able to come down to Florida for 6 months and not have to be on field. But I take care of a lot of the recruiting aspects for the program, and making sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned, and we're able to reach out to players in a quick manner, and just try to get the best student athletes that we can to Erie Community College. And, obviously every year we want to win the World Series, but we want to make sure that we're also progressing players, whether they finished after their 2 years after get their associate's degree, go into the working world, or, they progress. We've had over 175 players go on to four-year schools and a variety of four-year schools, and that's kind of what I'm proud of, is that it's not the mentality of D1 or bust. It's the mentality of what's going to be the best fit. And I've done, college recruiting and college placement for a couple of organizations. And the biggest thing is fit. And fit comes down to three things. It comes down to the academic side, obviously. They have to offer a good academic program and what you want to study. They have to offer the athletic program. So obviously the baseball program has to be good. Now, when I say good, it doesn't mean that they have the best uniforms or the best facilities, okay? It's the best coaching. It's the best atmosphere, okay? And lastly, in fit, is the financial side, because it has to fit financially for your family. So if going to, we'll just, school X, where it's, $60,000 a year to go to, you may not be able to afford that. So let's just take that off the board. But we want to look at what's the best fit for you. So, it could be going to an NAIA. It could be going to a D2. It could be a D3. Wherever it's the best fit for you and you feel good on campus, that's where we want to place you.
You are making just music to my ears right now. In the entire recruiting space, I don't see a lot of guys talking about the $1.6 or $1.7 trillion in college debt that our country is in. And it's concerning to me. And, quite honestly, I think it needs to be talked about. I talk about it here on this platform. And it's just a shame when you see, kids and parents get excited about the shiny lights, and they end up shopping for a Lamborghini on a Honda budget, and that's just a recipe for disaster. Just an absolute recipe for disaster.
It really is. It really is, and I think you really have to get away from. You're going to feel great the first day that you make that announcement. Hey, I'm going to school X, and this is it's whatever. But then when reality actually sets in, that's really what you have to look at. Where am I going to be 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road?
Right.
And you're right. I mean, with the way housing prices are now and just prices in general in the economy, the last thing that you need is a lot of student debt.
Correct. And the math has changed. Like, when I was in school, I went to a state school for about $9,000. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So let's just say I'm all in with debt, with loans, and I come out and I've got $40,000 in student loans, and I'm going to go get a job making $40,000. Okay, so that math is doable, right? But today's math has changed. That same education is going to now cost you $25,000. So if you're all in with debt, now you're at $100,000 to go get a job making $40,000. The math has changed, and our decision-making process feels like it's been slow to keep up, which has put people in a world of hurt. Now you look at Erie up there. It's in the SUNY system of New York. Mm-hmm. $5,000-6,000 if you're a commuter. If you need to live on campus, you're at $10,000. I mean, that's kind of hard to. I don't know many places you can beat that right now in 2022. If you're an in-state student, you can go with zero scholarship and pay $10,000 for the year. That's outstanding.
And play, and I just want to add, and play right away.
Yeah, and play.
Obvious. One of the things that we're really proud of at Erie, and this is again Coach Both's philosophy. We're not the school that's going to bring in 60, 70, 80 players. Because, yes, we want competition, and we do bring in, obviously, a little more than what we're allowed to carry in terms of our final roster.
Yeah.
So there does allow for some competition. There's always injuries that happen. There's, the occasional, academic ineligible. But you're going to come to Erie and play right away. You're going to get an opportunity to get 150 at-bats, or you're going to get opportunity to pitch on the mound right away and show what you got. And at that point, that's all I think a player can truly ask for is an opportunity. And I think that's a key word in the whole kind of college recruiting, college placement is an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think it's a true opportunity at Erie Community College. And to take it a step forward, I think we need to, as a community, baseball community, and this is, I say that more to the parents, we need to get away from the stigma that community college is inferior education. Community college basically is just preparing you for that. It's really your first and second year at a university.
Yeah.
It's really preparing you for that, and I think it's a lot of hands-on, which is going to allow you to be in better stead when you get to that four-year school.
Well, I don't think I'm the only one who thinks this way, but I truly believe we're about to go through an absolute renaissance period with junior college baseball specifically. So I'm all for it. I want to be along for that ride because junior college baseball is I think it's about to explode, and it's not just because of COVID. I think COVID accelerated, but I think people are beginning to there's a movement in this direction with people like us who are having this type of discussion and thought process, and as that trickles down to the families, I just think the next 4 or 5 years are going to be an awesome time in junior college baseball.
And that's one thing that we've done in Okotoks is we've really tried to, again, look at what's the best fit. So between our college placement people, Jeff Duda, Tyler Hollick, myself, some others, we've really looked at, okay, what's the best fit for everybody and at every level. So that's allowed us to, we're looking for this 22 grad class. We've had over $4 million in scholarships.
Yeah.
And at various schools. And we've got 8 guys that are going to Power 5 schools, and we're very proud of that. But, the ability to have our kids at the academy focus on their academics, first of all, has allowed them to garner even more money. And the second thing is just that whole philosophy of, the right fit for you, whether it be junior college, whether it be, NAI, D3, D1, D2, it doesn't matter. And I think that's really what we need to do going forward.
Speaking of Okotoks, I want to transition to talk about the academy team specifically. One of the things that just blows me away about Canadian baseball, Canadian travel baseball, is just the amount of effort it requires just to get to even. Just to be able to catch up to where everybody else down here south of the border is starting with. And we're partnered up with OBJ, who I know you're very friendly with, and in fact the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Steed is sitting down the hall from you in your home. and we've had his partner Joe Ellison on the pod in the past if anybody wants to get to know him. We also work with Team Ontario as well. Jason Booth, great dude. But the effort required to just get those kids to even. And both of those teams, you talk about geography, both of those teams have a geographic advantage in the travel baseball world compared to Okotoks, right? Because they can just cross the border and within a few hours drive, they can hit a bunch of metropolitan areas down here in the States. You guys can drive a few hours before you hit the border, and then when you hit the border, you realize you're in Montana. Not quite the hotbed of travel baseball. So let's talk about how do you get your guys from basically the middle of nowhere, Western Canada, in front of the world of travel baseball? What's the last couple years been like, for Okotoks?
Last couple years have definitely been a struggle with COVID.
Well, that's true. That's true.
With not being able to travel and border restrictions and things like that.
All right, let me reframe the question because I don't want to get stuck on COVID talk again. I feel like it's been. Let's look. Yeah, COVID's canceled, guys. We're recording this, by the way. We're recording this. This is March 4th. We're recording this 2022. In case you're listening to this 10 years down the road, COVID was a big deal in 2020, 2021, and it is officially over. So let's just look moving forward. It's March now. As you head into June, sort of like, what's the game plan? How do you attack the Dawgs summer schedule?
So we're very fortunate that there's some good events that we're able to play in. First one being there's a Best of the West in British Columbia,
okay,
which features some of the top teams in Canada that will come out. It's heavily recruited by college coaches, pro scouts. So that's kind of our kickoff. And then we're actually the teams will be heading down here to Florida in late June and playing in a couple of perfect game events, one in Fort Myers and one in Jupiter. And we're very, we're very lucky to be able to partner with Perfect Game in these events, and that's really where our guys get noticed. Mm-hmm. And I think too with our guys, and we've had over 33 junior national team selections. So I think the way that we've done it, it's shown that the kids, our players, I call them kids, but our players are getting noticed. They're getting exposure. Mm-hmm. And is it tough? Yeah, it is. And next fall, again, we'll be running our full fall schedule. With an Arizona component, with a Florida component, with a Midwest component. So we're really excited about kind of getting back to normal. And that's really, our fall program is by far one of the best.
Are these flights? Are you guys flying everywhere you go?
No. It's
so if you go to Arizona, is that a charter bus?
Yeah, because we can kind of hit some schools, kind of do the kind of Midwest, and then hook down.
So like several of the OBJ, Team Ontario, some of these other clubs they do their fall bus tours. Is that basically what you're doing on the way to Arizona?
Very similar.
Awesome.
Exactly.
I love it.
Kind of a variety of different schools, whether it be, again, D1s, D2s, NAIs, junior colleges. We kind of hit them all. And then, obviously then, when we talk about Florida, that's obviously different. Then, that's flights, because it's just, you're going to lose too many days on the road. And we want to make sure, too, that our players are not away from school for an extended period of time.
That was going to be my next question. When you head to Arizona by bus, how many days is that total from the time you leave Okotoks to the time you get back?
It's about 14, but we try to break it up sometimes too. So we'll go out for maybe 10, come back for a week, and then go back out again.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like it's two separate trips. And again, I'm just sitting here looking at the map. You could do a beeline, and I don't know if there's even a road that goes straight through because you got you got mountains and stuff. But like, what kind of route are you taking to ensure that you're hitting some colleges? Are you taking sort of a roundabout way heading into Eastern Washington or Oregon, or are you cutting?
Oregon. We actually, coming back, we would probably do a bit of Oregon. We've got quite a few players that are committed. Mitch Grabman, who is a right-handed pitcher, will go probably fairly high in the draft, but he's committed to University of Oregon. Connor Pote is going to Oregon State. We've got Ty Doucette going to Oregon State as well in our 23 class. So and Leo Cote in our 24 class is already committed to Oregon State. So yeah, that's a big kind of stop for us.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring is like you could just beeline it, but you would probably be missing a lot of stuff. Do you make a pit stop in the Vegas area?
We have in the past. Not Las Vegas per se, but Nevada, yes. That's been there. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's as I said, it's even Washington. We've got we try to stop in Washington State, and we've got a few players that are committed to going to either Washington or Washington State.
A lot of good junior college baseball up in the Pacific Northwest as well. That I'm sure those guys are locking in on you. Let me tell you, this is a challenging fall. I'm thinking about, again, this is the struggles between those organizations north of the border versus the clubs that are right here in my backyard in Richmond, Virginia. They talk about, oh, it's such an inconvenience that I got to drive down to Raleigh and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but this club is leaving from Calgary and heading into Arizona, and that takes time. And then the next week they're going to head over to the Midwest. Where do you guys go in the Midwest? Are you hitting that big? There's a big event in like Indianapolis, right? Or
more the Chicago area.
Yep. Okay.
And kind of down there. That's one area that I think I'd like to try to take a look at more. Is that kind of the Illinois kind of corridor there, and because again, there's lots of great schools there. Junior college baseball. A friend of mine, Coach Brenneman at Frontier Community College. Mm-hmm. Another great program. Loves Canadians. And puts on a first class program. So I think that's one of the things that we really need to do in the game, and is don't always do the same thing you do every single day. Mm-hmm. Yes, we want to have consistency, but I think it's important for organizations and to do the best for their players, not just to keep going back to the same old. You gotta broaden your horizons and those connections and those contacts, because it's all going to come back to you in the end.
Well, and I just love you guys in essentially over the course of the fall. So you're talking about 4, 5, 6 weekends. You guys are able to get in front of West Coast programs, Midwest programs, and then Southeast programs. Not only Southeast, because when you head to Florida, those are generally big events. So you'll probably get coaches from, the entire country, at least the entire Eastern Seaboard heads down to Florida for those weekends. So pretty good bang for the buck, but you earn it. You earn it with those miles you're putting in that extra effort. This is very different than driving from Richmond to Raleigh to go play at a weekend tournament at NC State and Duke. But
again, it allows the players. I think we always talk about the development. And we want to make sure our players are prepared for the next level, whatever that next level is, whether it be pro ball or collegiate baseball. Mm-hmm. So part of that next level is the grind. We all talk about the grind. Yeah. And players really don't understand what the grind is. Those of us that have been in the game a long time, yeah, we understand what the grind is. Mm-hmm. They don't. And I think we have to really teach them what the grind is, how you balance. And this is life skills. How do you balance, schoolwork, and playing and your meal preparations and your sleep schedules and all that kind of stuff. These are all life lessons that we need to impact and give to these players.
Absolutely. And there's such a difference between, again, and I'm not bashing on our clubs here locally that are stateside, but to drive to an event that's 45 minutes away and then come home and sleep in your own bed, or maybe even roughing it by driving with mom 3 hours away and staying in the hotel with her where she's handling your meals and your uniform cleaning and stuff like that. That's a different level than flying 3,000 miles away where you're going to bunk up. I'm assuming you're going to bunk up with 2 or 3 of your teammates, and mom and dad probably aren't going to be there. It's a different scenario. Speaking of bunking up, does it get awkward when all 25 guys or 30 guys are sleeping in your house in Venice when they're down?
Yeah, it's one heck of a party. I'll tell you that much.
You got to cut costs somehow, right?
The unique thing is when I first looked at this property. And I came and I was looking at just basically a piece of dirt, but the property lines were there from the back of my property line to the back of my house, 60 feet 6 inches.
Oh, no kidding! There you go.
So that had to tell you something right there.
Yeah. So you put the rubber right up against the back door, and you're good to go.
Absolutely.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I was just envisioning this entire crew rolling in, dirty, stinky, and they're just throwing their bat bag all over your living room. Yeah, it's a big party. Big party. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? And we probably watching college baseball, and that's what I want a lot of. I keep stressing to the players. Watch as much college baseball as you can, because I think we've talked about what the big leaguers do and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you watch college baseball, allow you to kind of place yourself and understand where you fit in the game.
It's a totally different discussion, and we don't need to go down this rabbit hole. But like trying to have like regular, normal, non-superhero level high school players compare themselves to superhero like all-stars like Mike Trout. It's such a weird thing to do when in reality it makes so much more sense to have a regular, normal, non-superhero high school player just go down the street and look at the college kid who's 12 or 24 months ahead of you on the process.
One of the things I do with especially with the Canadian teams is have them go see high school baseball.
Oh.
So we've played some high school teams, and I mean it looks like the Keno numbers up on the scoreboard. I mean it's sometimes I'm not going to be honest, we're going to need to roll some innings. And usually after that, I tend to have them out of practice, and I draw a map of the U.S., and I say, okay, these are the players we played last night. And there's those types of players all around the U.S. So now all of a sudden you have to be even that much better than those players.
Yeah.
So it just allows you to kind of give some perspective and really a reality check of where you are and where you fit in this game.
For sure. Well, listen, I'm looking at the clock, and I want to be respectful of your morning here, and wanted to get a couple of these questions from sort of my standard list because I love getting the perspective from different coaches. That first one kind of it doesn't necessarily need to be a rapid fire style, but if you don't feel like going into great depth, that's okay. Is there a book or movie website? Any kind of resource that you are, highly recommending to other coaches?
Yeah, I always like the movie The Miracle. Based off of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team.
Yeah.
And ironically, a gentleman that I used to scout with, and a good friend of mine who recently passed, Sean McCann, played the general manager in that movie. But that movie is all about teamwork. It's again a true story of Herb Brooks taking basically a bunch of guys, but he put a plan together, and he set goals, and he made the players believe in those goals, and then he talked about the process, because there's always a process. How do you get to the end? It's not just go directly to the end. There's a process of how you get there.
Yeah.
And then there's some scenes where it's not so much about the player's talent, but it's more about what kind of teammate and how does that fit in. So, yeah, we want all of our players to be talented, but if it's like a recipe, if you're making something, you don't have all the ingredients, then you're not going to have a successful meal. So we want to make sure that, I think, as a program, I think, or as a team, look at some qualities and kind of get the best teammates and players from a talent perspective together.
Awesome. Great movie. Great plug. I think you're the first to mention that. Love that one. I own that one. That used to be one that we would throw on the bus rods for sure.
On the bus, absolutely. Yep. Good motivational.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead just in respect for our time here. What's one change? If I gave you that magic wand, what's one change you think could be made in travel baseball that would have the biggest positive impact?
I would like to see a better game to practice ratio, or even going the college route of, players can only play X amount of games in a season.
Mm-hmm.
I think players, there's some kids that are just playing an enormous amount of games at a young age, really burning out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one thing that we have to do as coaches, they got to love the game. They got to love coming to the field and be excited when they get to the field. And I think if we can better kind of manage that kind of game to practice ratio, because I think we need to develop players better too.
Yeah.
A lot of times they think they learn just on the field, and yes, learning on the field is a component, but I think we need to have that practice time and that one-on-one time with players and really teach them about the game, not just have them kind of try to look at TV and emulate what they see on TV.
I'm just thinking while you're giving that answer, it would be a really interesting debate, because I've had guys say they answer the question in exactly opposite ways. Some guys say we need more games, and some guys say we need less games. And I think I can be convinced of both. I think, maybe we need to set up a sort of roundtable discussion and debate, and see if we can get anywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, to me that's the best thing about this game. And I think if you were starting up a facility or a program, that's one of the things that I would look at is talking to others, and not when you talk to them, they're not the enemy, but listen. That's the biggest thing is they have to listen. And there are some things that other people do well. But you need to take that. So I talk about, really, I call it PPD, people and player development.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you develop people our players into good teammates, their work habits on the development side for players, obviously, what they do on the field from a talent perspective, the wins are going to come. But you're also going to make kids and players that you're proud of in the community. And we want to foster a whole generation of new coaches, because we're all getting too old to do this thing. So
that's true.
Let's get some new blood in there, and again, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to change things. Have a way of doing it, but don't be afraid to change. That's
great advice. Great advice to end on right there. John, I appreciate you. That's John Milton. Find him over on Twitter at jmilton3. And if you want to learn more about the Okotoks Dawgs, go to dogsacademy.ca. dogsacademy.ca, and you'll find out probably everything you need to know about the Okotoks Dawgs up there in out in the middle of nowhere, Western Canada. Hey, John, don't hang up. I'm gonna stop the recording. Don't hang up quite yet.